Jungkook, is that the pretty story he fed you with? Wine frowned and stepped back when he slipped his hands inside his pocket, thinking he might take out a gun. Jungkook, very well. Not that it matters. Get in the car and your pretty boyfriend lives. She balled her fists and eyes cascading towards the ground. She knew it was coming. There was no way she was looking back at Jasper and be able to walk out of there without a heart attack. Tears slipped down her eyes and she refused to show them to him as she marched out of the house with heavy steps and quietly got in the car. Jungkook's eyes drifted towards Jasper, who got down on his knees before him. Jasper, let me go now. Jungkook, we will see how far you live. She will know you betrayed her. She will be hurt, and you will die if she cries too much over you. Jasper was under a huge debt owned by Jungkook. It had been 2 years he was filling the installments, but it only seemed to weigh more on his shoulders. Then he saw this girl, Ryan. She was beautiful and extremely innocent, a lively, cheerful girl. It was a guess, but his fate worked out for the first time in his life. He made her fall for him, then convinced Jungkook to take her. The invitation to ocean and sunshine was from Jungkook, because never once in his life he could afford entering such elite place. Jungkook was supposed to take Wine that day with him. Jasper would make it look like she was forced away from him by a mafia force, but to his misfortune, Jungkook had to leave somewhere. Now the main task was making Wine willingly go with Jungkook without putting up a fight. He succeeded pretty well, but he feared for how long he was going to live. The ride back home was silent. Once the two reached home, Jungkook took her to his room. She had her hands joined in front of her. Looking so scared and small, she preferred keeping distance from him. Jungkook leant against the dresser and crossed his arms, eyeing her. Jungkook, are you that scared I'm going to hurt you? Ryan, didn't you bring me here for this? Jungkook, if I had to hurt you or force you, I would have asked for a night instead of making you my lawfully bride. Ryan, do you even care about laws? He smiled, a literal genuine smile that surprised her for the beauty it held. But she wondered if it was all he could pull out. She could still sense the dark gleam hidden somewhere behind those eyes. Jungkook put a file on the table before her. It was a marriage contract. He wanted everything to be done here and then before he was going to make her fall for him and hold an official marriage. Jungkook, sign them. She hesitated, eyes falling on him again with a pleading look. Ryan, won't you ever once think again? Jungkook, there's no place left to think, sweetheart. I don't make decisions like that. Hurry up now. His hand raised her jaw. She flinched but took the pen and signed them instantly. Good, he said, taking the papers away from her. He wrapped his hand around her wrist and she was dragged towards the closet. Her lips parted in surprise, seeing the closet, bigger than the lounge, back in her home. He had it planned already. From shoes to dresses, bags, makeup, and accessories, everything she might need was already there and in huge amount. Ryan, how do you know my size? Jungkook, That was not too hard to find. By the way, your personals are in that section. Her eyes shifted to where he pointed, and out of instinct, she hugged her arms, covering herself, and Dad only received a laugh from him in an answer. Jungkook, I heard right about you. You're really innocent. Wine, I am not. She flared her nose and pulled her wrist out of his grip. One thing she learned by now, he was serious about them, so she supposed he was not going to hurt her. Right? Wine, I'm not sleeping with you. Jungkook stayed there, pleased with her sudden courage. He wanted her to be comfortable with him, so he guessed he was okay with it for now. Jungkook, even if everything I want between us to be real, and not like your previous relationship. Wine, don't call it fake. Everything was real, and it will remain to be. Are you that sure? He clenched his jaw. He was clearly not okay with this. Her anxiety rose as he started telling her everything in detail. He planned not to ruin her first night here, but guess he was jealous enough to do that. She denied. Every word that left his lips, she cried and denied while trying to block his voice. Why would she believe a mafia who forced her over someone she loved so dearly? It was until he showed her the videos as a proof where Jasper was talking to Jungkook about selling her to pay off his debt and what was supposed to happen that day as Ocean and Sunshine Resort. It was when her tears stopped falling, her hands shaking but otherwise numb, and her legs gave up on her. Jungkook picked her up, taking her out to his bed, and placed her down, moving her in his embrace. She didn't move. She didn't want to. Why was she crying over a man who used her for purpose? Why would she ruin her life for him? Why would she even cry for him? It hurt her. Every part of her body was crying in pain, but she was not going to give herself to it. Why? Why didn't you tell me back then? She pulled away, eyes red in anger. Why? I would have killed him. Jungkook tucked her hair behind her ear. Jungkook, I can do that for you. Why? I want to see him. I want to see him myself. He sighed. She was angry and he could understand her, for she was betrayed greatly. Jungkook, alright, I will take you to him. I mean it, Mayan. No matter who I am, I didn't bring you here to hurt you. So as long as you stay on my good side, I can promise us to be real. She looked down, and her whole inside screamed at her to move away. She needed a break, some space, and time to heal over it. She wondered what must be Jasper doing right now. He must be celebrating with some girls all over him, in a club, now that he was free of his debt. Where was she? Why would she ruin her life any more for him? She knew there was no way to escape Jungkook, and she had to accept him eventually at the end. She nodded. I will. If you promise to give me respect and not some girl who was bought with money. Jungkook, of course, you need to sleep. He helped her under the sheets. He was not going to use her in a state when she was drowned in her confusion. He laid beside her, a hand in her hair, another balled in a fist, controlling his own desires. He finally had her on his bed, but he couldn't touch her. He didn't know about her, but he was definitely going insane. The next day, Jasper was brought to Jungkook's mansion. Wine was having breakfast with her husband once they were informed of his arrival. Her smile dimming, which Jungkook tried hard to put on these lips. He dismissed the guard and stood up, extended hand for her. If there was one thing she couldn't understand, was how her heart ready to accept him this quickly. It was the warmth in his every touch and every word that gave her a sense of protection, where in fact she was supposed to run and hide from him. Jasper couldn't understand why he was called there, but the sight in front of him was not pleasing at all. Wine and Jungkook entering the lounge where he was, hand in hand. She left Jungkook's hand and marched towards Jasper and slapped him. Another slap and then another. His eyes flared with anger, but one look towards Jungkook made him cower in fear. Wine, I wish dearly for you to never find happiness again. She left him with a last slap and a push against his chest. Jungkook walked ahead, wrapping an arm around her waist. A flick of finger towards Jasper, and the man was walked out of the home. He was looking down, face red with the slap marks drawn in humiliation, but could do nothing to help himself. Jungkook, we can get him again. You need to finish your food first. I am not a kid, she mumbled and walked towards the kitchen, her anger slowly disappearing, coming back to reality. Before she could sit on the chair, Jungkook picked her up, putting her on the table before him. His hands on either side of her as he moved closer, standing between her legs. Her breath hissed at the closeness and hands falling on his chest. You're so beautiful. Closeness with Jasper never raised her heart this way. She blushed and he groaned at the sight, lips falling onto hers, and surprisingly enough, she kissed him back, curling her fingers against his dress shirt, probably ruining it. He wrapped his arm around her waist, pushing her flesh against him, and kissed her roughly, hand burying in her hair, pulling onto them. A sound escaped her lips which turned his insides, and he pulled away because if he didn't, he would have a serious problem to face. She looked down before resting her forehead against his chest. Ryan, don't hurt me. Don't betray me. Jungkook, I won't. Never.